Welcome to the Toronto Real Estate Podcast, your go-to for all things Toronto real estate here in the city. Today, we're focusing on new agents with our episode, the New Agents Roadmap. We will give you 6 essential steps every new agent or potential new agent should take or be thinking about in their first year. From understanding whether you want to join the team, to team dynamics, to becoming a knowledge broker, we've got all the crucial insights and the experts right here to broach this very topic. My name, of course, is Ralph Fox, and I'm the broker of record and co-founder of Fox Marin. This here is Corey Marin, broker and co-founder, and one of the 2 agents on today's podcast who crushed absolutely, and I witnessed it, her first year. And of course, we have none other than Ruben Labovitz, aka the Rubes. If you follow him on Instagram, he's a broker at Fox Marin and also had an unbelievable first year journey in the business. So we have 2 very different personalities, but 2 amazing success stories. And we're going to dig into that in a second. I'm going to be your moderator as we talk about these amazing stories. Welcome, Corey and the Rubes.
Thank you for having us and for that amazing introduction, Ralph Fox.
Well, I am caffeinated and ready to go. Actually, that's number 2. And that is not a product placement, if anyone is wondering, on the Fox Marin podcast today. I think this is a great topic. I'm really excited to have Ruben and Corey here. A little bit of background. When Corey first got into the business, that was quite a long time ago. Hard to believe, but true. She got in the business when she was 9. When Corey got in the business, the average condo was about $325,000 in downtown Toronto. And Corey did about $160,000 in GCI in your first year, which would be the equivalent of today of a rookie doing probably $340,000, $350,000 in their first year, which is virtually unheard of. And at the time, of course, Corey won Rookie of the Year, which was a big goal for her. And a decade later, young Ruben Labovitz came into the business. He had a short internship at Fox Marin before we let him loose on the streets of Toronto. And Ruben did it in a much different way, which is much more common in today's environment. He got heavily involved with leases as a launching point to his career. And in his first year, and this must be a record somewhere, Ruben, as a one-man show, did 120 leases in a year.
Insane.
That record still stands and is held with respect to anybody in the business who you just run those numbers by. Incredible feats. And both of these years for both Corey and Ruben were incredible launching pads for their career and have set them on this amazing trajectory. And as the broker of record and co-founder of Fox Marin, I've been doing this probably as long as Corey and Ruben combined, plus 2 or 3 years. I started when I was 5, in case anyone is wondering. And I've had the privilege of watching a lot of people grow and having the opportunity to coach and mentor a lot of people on our team and even outside of our team. And so I've been able to see the trajectory of a lot of people's careers in this business. And so I have some great insights coming from that perspective, as well as my own career, which hopefully has been mildly successful as a practicing real estate agent and broker.
Just mildly.
So anyways, we have 6 points and we're going to go through them one by one. The first point is finding your team.
Yes.
And the reason why that's a point is because in this day and age, one agent, the one-man shows just simply can't keep up, and consumers are demanding more and more, and there are so many aspects to the business. It's why if you look in any market, it's always teams that are dominating, and now we're starting to see the evolution towards mega teams because consumers just need a lot of support and they deserve a lot of support, and it is just impossible to be a jack of all trades and master of none in something that moves as quickly as Toronto real estate does, with as high of consequences as it does across the board. So let's talk a little bit about finding a team. Corey, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you feel that are important on the team side?
For sure. Well, I just want to make it very clear that when I started off in the business, I started completely as a solo agent with absolutely no support, no mentors, very little coaching, no idea what I was doing. very few people to ask questions. And I really truly learned on the fly. Like it was a sink or swim scenario. Like I just like went out there and figured it as I went. So it's really, really changed for new agents. So as a newbie, you are very fortunate to have the opportunity to explore the concept of teams, a group of agents that work together in very different capacities, depending on the team, depending on their values, their styles, their resources, where they focus on, what their expertise are, and how they run the team. But if I were starting this all over again, which, gosh, I do not think I would even have the capacity to ever do that again, because I'm acknowledging how brutal the first year or two is, maybe the first 3 even, and then it kind of gets better after that. You're really going to want to explore the concept of joining a team and really do your research. And the best place to start is the good World Wide Web. And you're going to research great real estate teams and teams in the area that you want to work and become an expert in. And you're going to do some exploratory work there, looking at their website, looking at their social presence, watching videos, getting an idea of who these people are and what their values are, their philosophies, their work ethic, anything you can find out. And then those people that you resonate with online, I want you to book interviews with them or calls even, exploratory calls and say, hey, I'm a new agent. I'm just finishing my courses at Humber. I really want to find a place to fit in and be part of a group that's working towards something on a common goal, a common vision. And I'd love to talk to you about what your team has to offer. And that is the best place to start when you're new, is you want to find a group of comrades to help you move forward in a very tumultuous first year.
I found you on the World Wide Web. I think I Googled best real estate teams Toronto, and here we are. I think I would have to agree with that. But I am, Corey, you warned us not to go off on any tangents.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent.
Please.
Because I think as a brand new agent, you really don't know what you don't know. You're going to realize that the courses that you took to get your license didn't prepare you at all for stepping into the real world. And
do you remember, Ruben?
Do you
remember I told you that, Ruben? And I remember you looking
so
at me very,
times.
very suspiciously, being like, okay, buddy, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you don't know how to find a client. If you're lucky enough to have a client, you don't know how to book a showing. You don't have any knowledge of houses or condos or neighborhoods, of paperwork, on, more importantly, how to actually guide them and protect their best interests. And you're not going to learn any of that in the 6 months that it takes you to click through slide decks and do a few online tests. And so then if you try and step out of school, and if you don't have a system surrounding you, and if you don't find a team that will support you and that you can resonate with, both you as a brand new agent and any clients that you're going to be representing are going to be completely screwed. And so I just think it's true. I think you're not doing yourself or a client a service if you're brand new, you've never done it before, you have no idea what you're doing, and you don't have that support system around you to help lead you and help guide you. And so to me, that's the importance of joining a team, let alone everything else down the line, especially as a brand new agent. I was texting with Corey yesterday, and we're setting up a walkthrough for an appointment for my first ever buyer clients. They're going to be listing their condo for sale. And I texted Corey and I said, I remember having you guys on the phone panicking. And this was like a month into me having my license full time. I was panicking. I was like, I don't know what the value of this property is. Well, if someone like me who had done this 4-month internship and was surrounded by all of these people was still having those difficulties, and I didn't have you to come to, I wouldn't have known what to do. My clients either wouldn't have gotten the property, or maybe they would have vastly overpaid for it. So again, just having that team, that support system around you who is invested in your success is paramount.
For sure. And I'd also like to add, if joining a team does not inspire you at this moment and you're like, I really want to do this on my own, and you're really committed to that path, there are some really great brokerages in Toronto that do have excellent in-house training or decent in-house training. So when you are interviewing brokerages and figuring out where you want to navigate, ask about what training and support mechanisms they have for new agents, and you want to have rigor around that. trust us. Like, you need to have that type of information, and you need that extra support, because like we've just said, you really truly learn nothing in that little diploma process that you've gone through.
And it's so interesting because now Ruben is giving advice to younger people on our team, and he's passing that along. And hey, it's just really nice to see that. But it's also such a great way to learn when you're helping other people figure their way out, even though you've been in the business now for a few years. Aside from the fact that it's really rewarding to see other people flourish and grow in their careers, and on the personal side, you learn a lot when you're helping guide other people. And you're like, well, I'm telling so-and-so they should be doing something. Well, why aren't I doing that? Or, yeah, that's a really good question. I never saw this from this perspective. And you would have to be new to ask that type of question. There's just so much that you can gain on both sides of this type of relationship as you grow in the business. That, again, is something you're not going to have. And you're not going to have somebody who's always going to be there for you because you're always there for them.
Yes.
And it's a very lonely business, but that's a whole other podcast.
Such a lonely business.
That's maybe our next podcast.
It's a lonely
The
business.
lonely business.
Except at the bottom of a coffee cup or a bottle of wine.
Yes.
One of the two.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think we touched on the team aspect.
Yes, team.
Let's go into number 2, mastering leases.
Yes.
So I'm just going to start off by saying, Ruben, talk.
Okay, so there are a number of reasons why mastering leases really should be the first and probably only thing that a new agent should do. First of all, it provides a much lower stakes environment for you to hone your craft and for you to learn. Obviously, you still need to do the best possible job for your client, but a 1-bedroom condo rental that your tenant client can move out of in a year's time if they want a change of scenery, aren't entirely happy where they are, has far fewer consequences than advising on a $1 million decision.
True.
I think really when you're starting out in leases, it provides an avenue where you can learn how to communicate and communicate both with your clients and with other agents. So many people are afraid to pick up the phone and have a conversation. And so you have to be able to communicate via phone. You have to be able to communicate via email, via text, all of the above, because you don't really know who you're going to be dealing with and what their preferred method is. And once you are having, if you're doing however many leases, but you're having all of these conversations down the line, it just really sets you up for success. Another thing I would say, it allows you to perfect your paperwork. And this is something that even experienced agents deal with. But if you were doing 50, 100, however many leases in your first year, the first time you then go to put together an agreement of purchase and sale, it's going to be flawless.
Yes.
And if it's not, then you got to revisit everything. But you've got that nailed down and all of that. And I think finally, and not necessarily most importantly, but it gives you the opportunity to explore and to get to know different buildings, get to know different neighborhoods around the city, which ultimately will give you the ability to better advise all of your clients, buyer, seller, rentals, and also speak to them kind of just off the cuff. This is what I like about this neighborhood. This is the target demographic of this neighborhood. And if you're just running around with one buyer client at the beginning, and that's all you're doing for your first year in the business, you are not going to learn nearly as much. And you are not going to have the ability, once you get your second and third and 10th and 50th buyer client, to just give them the same advice as you would be able to if you started off doing a ton of rentals.
That is excellent advice. I hope our viewership is absorbing that. There is nothing better than you could do than saying yes to rentals.
Yeah.
Rentals all day long. And you know what? You get paid a half month's rent on rental. So you also have income coming in. You're meeting new people. You get to service people. You get to build your database. They refer you more people. You're a working agent out there in the craziness of the Toronto real estate market, and you're making deals happen. You're also learning about pace. You're learning about scheduling. You're learning about the time you need to get from one building to the next, or how long it takes you to drive from the east to the west. Scheduling, organizational skills, like all, and you're also dealing with people of all different backgrounds. So you're like getting to like figure out what your style is and what personality style works best with certain people. And like, it's just the best way to like get your feet wet at a lower stakes, but still it matters. I cannot think of it. And if anyone's ego is too big to think that they don't want to take care of rentals and this business is not for you, trust me. And the other thing that's amazing about it is that agents that have been in the business for a while don't want to do rentals anymore. So they are happy to refer you clients over and over again. And if you do a good job with their rental clients, they're going to refer you more rental clients. So senior agents are happy to have a great, dependable, positive, hardworking agent that can look after their rental leads, like big time. So please, please, please take this advice to heart.
I think both of you guys have left out the most important aspect to leases is actually, this is how you get clients. And Ruben was saying, they don't teach you how to get clients. It's very challenging to build up a database and to build up a client network. And, you know, it's amazing. Ruben is running around with a $3.5 million buyer right now who came to us as a leasing client. Corey's first leasing client has gone on to buy a house in Forest Hill with us. When you work with these people as tenants, oftentimes you're working with people with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 income. And while they're renting today, reason, and there's a whole host of reasons why they could be, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, these people become buyers. And by the same token, when you are starting out in the business and you've done 5 leases, there are now 5 people who know you as their real estate agent. And it's all the people that they know in their network, if you've given them the best possible experience and the best possible service, who they will then think of when they're at a party and somebody says, hey, do you know a great agent? Oh yeah, sure, I know so-and-so. So if you want to understand the aspect to actually building a business, which is by building a database, which is by having customers and clients and servicing them, there's no better way to do that when you're starting out in this business than getting into rentals.
Yes.
And going back to the other thing that Ruben was talking about when it comes to the communication piece, it's equally as important in this business to know not just what to say, but what not to say. And it's just as equally important in this business to know what you need to have in writing and sometimes things that you don't necessarily want to have in writing. And so understanding the pieces of communication and the deal flow and how to deal with other agents and how to deal with clients with insane parameters that are never going to happen, and how to understand who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with, and how to build a business in a low stakes environment that most senior and established agents don't even want to touch. It's low-lying hanging fruit. And if you can build your reputation and your personal brand and your experience at this level, you will build a foundation in an environment where we're in the lowest transaction in the last 40 years in Toronto real estate. And in 3, 4, 5 years, you can set yourself up for success. If you want to get into this business as an agent, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not an in-out. 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to have to pay your dues. But at the end, you'll have a sustainable business and you'll have a personal brand. And this is the way you have to do it, by paying your dues.
Amen to that.
Okay, so let's get into number 3, building a database. Corey, I'm going to point this one over in your direction.
Of course. So you just touched on it briefly when we were talking about the importance of rentals and meeting new people, and those people know other people, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to take that back and strip it back a little bit. The first thing you want to do as a new agent is think of every single person that you might know, where you have their email address and possibly their phone number and some connection to them on social media, and you're going to create a spreadsheet. And your goal, I would say, is to try to think of 100 people at least. And it might be like your family, your cousins, who cares? try to build out that first initial spreadsheet. And the reason this is important is because this is going to be your first mini target audience. These are going to be at the beginning your biggest fans, the people who already know, like, and trust you, and you haven't even earned anything yet. So this is your initial audience. And it's pretty amazing. In your first year, you kind of have beginner's luck because people are really rooting for you. And those people who are going to be rooting for you are the people that you know that are on this list. So I recommend pulling that list together, scrubbing all the different ways you know people. Check out your Instagram, go to your Facebook if you still have it, go through LinkedIn. Think about the people that you went to university with, even high school if you're still connected. Create that list, and then you're going to dump that list into some sort of CRM system. And there's like tons of them out there in real estate, but this is basically a customer relationship management tool. That's what it means, CRM, the acronym. And you're going to want to have some sort of system so that you are letting these people know that you now work in real estate. And if they know anyone who is looking to rent something or rent out their place or maybe even buy something, like, you would be happy to help. And it's pretty amazing how many people really want to see you do well, especially right off the top. So you're going to start communicating with them in different ways, and you're really going to start working on building this list. And so you can do different things. Make sure that you're connected to them with all of your social media content, and you might want to start creating a newsletter. You might want to write them all a personal email, let them know that you're now in the business. Whatever methodology works for you and resonates with your personality, this is the type of work you want to do on the back end when you're not out there hustling, doing your rentals or going into buildings or driving across the city. I really want you to think about building that list, and that list is going to live with you for a very long time. And this is just a little gem that you're going to start, like a little seed you're planting, and you want that seed to grow.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. And we kind of said it already, and I know we're going to touch again on it at another point, but you got to say yes. And whether that's doing open houses for senior agents, whether that's taking on their rental referrals, their realtor.ca leads, anybody and everybody that you can touch and have them think of you as an agent, and then hopefully their agent. You want to meet them, you want to have conversations with them, you want to help them.
And you want to compile that information in your list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I really just think the more conversations that you can have, the more people that you can get yourself in front of. That is, if you're not relying on family and friends, because they do want to see you succeed, but eventually that will dry up.
Yep.
Going about it and seeking out other agents, both referrals, realtor.ca leads, open houses is probably going to be your next best bet to find that next level of person who might think of you as their agent.
For sure. And then the whole idea is that you're nurturing this list. So yes, they're thinking about you every time they're thinking about a realtor, or they're referring you to somebody that they know. And so it's kind of just like a force multiplier or a domino effect. And so like the tree branches just keep growing out. And it's amazing sometimes, and we've talked about this, some of the clients in the Fox Marin network all come back to an original seed. So we could be like, oh my gosh, that person referred me to this person and they referred me to this person. It's kind of like a family tree, and how it all just keeps connecting the dots. And we could probably go back to some of these original ones from like 12, 13, 14 years ago, where they were just an initial rental client. And now they've, spread their wings and they've referred additional clients. So that list is important. Don't be embarrassed about it. Oh my gosh, there's no choice here. This is like tip number 3. You have absolutely zero choice but to deal with this part of the business. And agents try not to, and they try to do anything but this part. They'll do anything but this part. And this is the most important thing you could do.
It's the difference between running around and being a transactional person with your head cut off and actually thinking about what you're doing strategically as a business and building it with foundation and structure, which you can then expound upon later over time. Okay, so that leads us into number 4. Corey, I know that this is right up your alley, okay. Putting yourself out there, learning to put yourself out there.
You do.
Don't be a secret agent.
Yes. Okay, this is really hard for people, and I totally get it. Now, it's probably pretty obvious, especially those of you who have watched the podcast before or know me personally. I'm like naturally extroverted person, and I'm pretty okay with.
No.
I know.
Come on.
I know. It's hard to imagine. But you're going to have to find a way for you to be okay letting people know that this is what you do, or a way that people feel that you are relatable in some way. That doesn't mean that every single day you need to post stupid real estate content on your social media. You want to be thinking like, who do I know and what do they want to hear from me? And how can I connect to these people? And how can I share that I'm like fun, trustworthy, easygoing, great at what I do without it being a sales pitch per se? So you need to find your own voice when you do this. I do think social media is probably the easiest way to be putting yourself out there. And I think there's lots of ways to do this. So you could be an amazing blog writer. You could be amazing at writing value-added content on your Instagram, but you don't necessarily need to put your face or a selfie out there every single time. You could be talking about something that you learned. And I heard this amazing tip at the Inman conference, I don't know, like maybe like 8 years ago when we were there, Ralph, during that really cold winter when we were there in New York.
I remember.
And somebody stood up there and talked about marketing. And he said, the best piece of advice I can give to new agents, and think about this, you're doing your rentals, you're out there learning for the first time, and you're overwhelmed by the idea of putting out content or putting yourself out there. He's like, at the end of every day, write a list of every question your clients asked you in the day. And that could be like, is 123 Blue Jays Way a great building? Is there, what are the best concierges in the city? Where is the new Ontario line stops going to be? I'm just making up anything. And you're going to keep a list of all these questions your rental clients are asking you about the city or leasing or deposit checks, whatever it is. And then every single day, you're just going to answer one of those questions. And you could do that in the written format, or you could do it if you really want to, which would be amazing, is you can answer these questions on video. And if you can answer these questions on video and you're putting out really great content, this is an amazing way for your clients to get to know you better and their friends to get to know you better too. So I think these little pieces of advice are really healthy and important. And unfortunately, it's just the nature of the business, and you are going to have to find a way to be okay with that. That's my advice. Rubes, not your favorite part of the business, I don't think.
No, and I think I'm going to leave it there because I think you are the master of this, and nothing further to add.
But you're so good on video. You are.
Shockingly
You
so.
are. You're so good. Well, you're going to do a Ruben series.
We are. We're back half of 2024.
Exactly.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Launch date September 7th.
Perfect.
Perfect.
I don't know why, but that's what's going to happen. So stay tuned with that. It's now in development.
Well, Ralph, I'm curious to know what you have to say, because you also, I wouldn't say, are like naturally somebody who wants to put out content, but you do it. So talk to our audience a little bit about that and why it's so important and what you've learned over the years by doing that, because I don't think this is your natural style either.
No. And I think one of the most important things that people have to understand is they just need to get over themselves. And, I barely even watch the content that I used to watch it like before we put something out or a reel out or whatever. And now I'm just like, okay, let's film it. 90% chance it does okay, maybe 10% chance I look like an idiot. I can survive that. And the thing you have to remember is people are really busy. They have their own lives. Nobody's going to analyze or break down anything that you really, really do and think any less of you to a most degree. And if somebody wants to not connect with you, then they can go back to their parents' basement and continue to type out whatever they want. But most of the feedback will be positive. And I think if you want to be in a position where you're dealing with the public, and if you believe that you are really good at what you do and you provide the best possible service out there, which is something that I believe that I do, and I believe it's something that we as a team and brand do, then it makes it very easy to feel confident about what you're saying and not really worried about the people who are locked up in their parents' basement who don't even know you, have nothing to do but write a nasty comment here or there. And we do get
Always
them.
Mine.
But yeah, for some reason, I don't know why, but yes, I've had a few. in my day. And that's okay. And I think you just have to learn to get over that and get over yourself and just realize that there are certain realities. And if you want to be successful in this business, being a secret agent is not the way to do it. And in your own way, you have to just carve out how you want to do that. One of the great things about being on a team is you can start to have a brand underneath the larger brand and lean on the bigger brand to help find a way to give yourself credibility and put yourself out there, and then find your niche within that. And if you're on a good team that allows you and encourages you to do that, then it takes a lot of the weight and pressure off of you because you have that support and you have that content that you can repost or recomment on or whatever, that if you're a solo agent, you just wouldn't have, because you'd be swimming upstream the entire time. Much easier to swim downstream. So I think it's a real challenge for most people getting into the business. And as you get really busy in the business, it's the first thing agents tend to drop. And that's why generally, especially independent agents, you'll see they'll have a really good year and then the next year they'll drop and then they'll have a good year, because when they're having the good year, they stop putting themselves out there and thinking about lead generation and business development. And that's why the next year it drops off. And then the next year they start to work on it. And then it builds. And we see on Instagram, you're like, oh, it looks like so-and-so's, really ramping up because it's January and they've made this commitment to do all this marketing. And then by March, it's stopped again, and it will stop until the next January. And one of the terms Corey and I always talk about is marketing stamina. And it's the ability, if you say you're going to do a podcast every week, 2 years later, you haven't missed a week. It's the ability to say, if you're going to do reels, if you're going to do newsletters, if you're going to write handwritten notes, if you're going to throw parties, if you're going to, be really consistent with your messaging in whatever level that is, it's the consistency that's really going to pay off more than anything else. And anything but that is going to be a very big disservice to yourself.
100%. And I'd just like to add one more thing before we move on, is that you really truly need that social proof, because most people are sleuthing in advance of reaching out to you. So you need some way to build some form of connection with people before they reach out. So they are going to look at your online presence. They are going to look at your website, your blog, if you have one, your YouTube channel, if you have one, or your Instagram, if you have one. And they kind of want to feel like they get to know you before they reach out to you. And if you feel like I'm new and I have nothing to say, go back to what I said, start answering questions, or even just talk about, this is my first year in the business. I want to share my journey with you. I would love to watch that kind of content with a new agent out there hustling for the first time. I mean, I can't even imagine about how much that story, you could bring somebody along on that journey with you and tell that story with people and like share whatever that is. And if you're like, oh my God, this was hard, stressful, like, people will eat it up. Just be super real and find a way that really feels comfortable to you. Because if you're doing something that doesn't align with your values and who you are, your personality, it's not going to resonate. So you've got to really find that voice. And we could talk about this forever. So Ralph, let's move on.
Awesome. We're moving into number 5. Number 5 right here.
Okay.
Becoming the knowledge broker.
Yes.
Ruben, I'm going to pass this one over to you.
Yeah, I think it's a really important, before you become a knowledge broker, you have to be knowledgeable yourself. And so you need to be curious. You need to seek out information. You need to be just really involved in the day-to-day of what is happening in this market. And once you're not going to be able to properly advise your clients, to be able to give your true opinions and not the opinions of others, unless you have internalized that, come up with your own thoughts and opinions, and then are able to share that. And so I think the biggest word to me is curious. Is be curious, want to know as much information as possible, be able to absorb as much as possible, and then be able to share that with your clients, with the public, on social media, with whatever it is. Because the more you know and the more you understand, then the more you're going to be able to share.
I think that's so interesting from my lens. I mean, when I got my license and got into the business, I was so excited to do these training programs. And I found that they were always all about lead generation, and they were never, ever, ever, ever about understanding the market, understanding the dynamics, understanding supply ratios, understanding absorption, understanding the importance of the green belt, understanding the importance of immigration, understanding the importance of what is fundamentally driving the market, so that once you fundamentally understand that, you can then in turn advise clients and have an opinion. And then once you have that opinion, not being afraid to express that. And so one of the things that personally drives me crazy is you just see agents just basically rehashing, oh, here's the market report by Treb, and then they post that. Or, this could happen, but probably it won't, so who knows? So, have an opinion, be able, like, people are making multi-million-dollar decisions that could impact them generationally. You better know what you're talking about. Why should they be hiring you if you can't explain to them what your opinion is and be able to factually back it up? It's okay to be wrong. Listen, I've been wrong. Everybody's been wrong about things that they think are going to happen. But if you can understand the fundamentals that are driving the market, will put you in a pretty good position to long-term, not short-term, but long-term, understand what the future could look like. Understanding geopolitics, understanding interest rates, understanding the Bank of Canada, understanding all of these things impact somebody's very big decisions that people are coming to you as their broker or knowledge broker. And so really, really understanding how the market works and really, really understanding how submarkets within the Toronto real estate market work is just as important, because you are their guide and that's what they're coming to you for. And if all you're thinking about is lead generation, or all you're thinking about is your commission, you will not have a long lasting career in this business. So position yourself to be the knowledge broker, be curious, ask questions, get information, form opinions, and be fearless about giving your opinion and helping guide people so that they can make their own decision based on the information that you're providing them with.
Yes.
Because I think all of that is super, super, super important, and you're not going to be able to be a knowledge broker and advise your client without that. I also think you have to find the right balance between, okay, here is all of the information.
Yes.
And there's so many people out there that, like you said, they just spit out stats. Okay, well, how do those stats correlate to the market, to the neighborhood that you're in? What are you seeing boots on the ground when you're actually in those properties, in those neighborhoods? And I think it's about finding the right balance of statistics, of absorption rate, of interest rates, and actually, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is how many offers are on a property that I've shown. This is how much above list it's sold for. This is what sentiment is. I think it's about finding that right balance to be able to form and then give a fully informed opinion and decision.
And back to your point of being curious, you could say, well, Treb says townhouses are up 13% this year. And you're like, well, there's only been 4 sales. And and there's a statistical anomaly in here for $2.5 million. So just regurgitating that a lot of times, and I'm learning this when you're seeing the Bank of Canada and the CPI and their unemployment numbers and all this, these numbers can be very much manipulated or misinterpreted. So being able to question the numbers and being able to say, well, why don't we look at it this way? Or there's another narrative to this or perspective. And when going back to what Ruben is saying, and I completely agree as well, like, you want to position your clients to make their own decision. You don't want everybody to just do what you tell them to do, but you need to be able to have opinions and you need to be able to factually base them to give them information so that they can make their own decisions. And it is a balance, 100%. Cora?
I just want to add something very basic for our super newbies, because if I was new when somebody was telling me you have to become a knowledge broker, I would start tuning out about now. I'd be like, geopolitics, Bank of Canada, interest rates, like my palms are sweating. Like, I think I would be like overwhelmed by this section. So I just want to say, you don't need to learn all of this right away. And I think you write some cheat notes. Give yourself, when you go out on showings with people, write little cheat notes in your phone, or if you print out your MLS listings and you're going around to buildings, write a few facts onto your sheet so that you just have them front of mind and you start learning how to integrate this information in your talks with your client. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's also nothing wrong with practicing, like actually practicing. So if somebody asks you what's happening with the interest rate announcement that happened last week, practice what your response is. And it doesn't need to be more than 3 lines. Just get your 3 lines down pat. And like, I know for Ralph and myself, we've been presenting together forever. And when we started doing webinars together during COVID, I mean, we were so freaking nervous to do these market updates because we had no idea what was happening in the world. We really didn't know how to interpret things. We'd never done online webinars before. You know what we did before we did them? We practiced. We practiced our webinar for like an hour, the two of us, back and sitting together just in front of the desk here, and we would just practice it. So
And we had nowhere to go.
So that's what we did. People were making bread and we were practicing our market update report. But I think this is just like, don't feel overwhelmed by that. I think these are things that you're going to learn over time to start integrating. But like at the very beginning, you need to have those little pieces or sound bites and just start slowly adding them in, and it will build, as will your confidence.
Perfect. Okay. So we are going to last but not least, number 6, saying yes to everything. And this is a very important and here, ask when you don't know the answer or when something doesn't make sense or feels uncomfortable to you. Ruben, I'm going to give that one to you.
I mean, I think I can probably just repeat exactly what you just said. Say yes to everything and ask when you don't know. Say yes. You are a brand new agent. You need the experience. You need to understand how everything works. You need the clients, the leads, everything that we've been talking about this whole podcast. I think it took me 2.5 years before I ever said no to anything. And to this day, it still pains me to have to say no to a client because, one, you want to be able to help as many people as possible. And selfishly for your own business, you want to be able to help as many people as possible and work with as many people as possible. But obviously, that is you can't do everything. But as you're brand new, you need to soak in as much as possible. You need to seize every opportunity that is given to you and just take it on and run with it. So that's why you say yes to everything. And when you say yes to everything, there are going to be a lot of times when you don't know anything. That is one of the best advantages of being on a team, is having people to ask questions to and to bounce ideas off of. If you don't know something, whether it's in regards to your property, whether it's in regards to the deal flow, an offer, a certain situation you might not have seen before, you can pick up the phone. I can pick up the phone and call anybody in our office at any time. And I know that there's going to be one person who might give me the best answer on this, another who might give me another opinion or be more informed on this. And you are not going to be able to properly advise your clients if you don't have the right answers, if you aren't seeking out the correct information for them. I see too many people making the mistake of trying to come up with an answer that they don't know. And again, that's only doing their clients and themselves a disservice because it could potentially put them in a sticky situation.
I could not be a bigger advocate of the yes motto. This is what you do. So if a senior agent asks you to cover an open house, you know what you do? You cancel your plans for the weekend and you do the freaking open house. If somebody asks you to cover a home inspection, another agent, you go to the inspection and you learn how inspections work. You get a really shitty rental lead out in Scarborough for like $1,200 a month. You try to take it on and see if you can make it work. You say yes to that. Somebody invites you to a party and you wouldn't want to normally go to the party because you're not that extroverted, or you wanted to stay home and watch Netflix. You go to the freaking party and you tell somebody there that you're an agent. So this yes thing is telling, I don't mean to sound like too new agey here, but it's just telling the universe that you are like ready for opportunity. And the amount of learning that happens and it's a snowball effect. You cover an open house and you do a really good job and you give that senior agent awesome feedback about the open house and how it went. They give you another one. Or you're at the open house and you meet a possible buyer lead. Oh my God, that would just be incredible. Or I don't know, like there's so many things. You say yes to meeting stagers at the property because the listing agent can't be there. You get to see how staging works. And you're like, I didn't know it was this crazy, or like behind the scenes. You can also create content through all of this and take pictures and learn stuff. And just through osmosis, you just become more and more confident about everything. And you're going to say yes to everything for at least 2 years. And you are not going to go up to somebody's cottage on the weekend, and you are not going to go to the club every Thursday night. Instead, you are going to be working and opening yourself up to all of these opportunities. And you should be working insane hours. Well, you will always work insane hours, but that will never go away.
But you need to get used to working in
then it'll just become normal and you'll be like, oh, this is just normal. You need to be like, no, I'm working like a rigorous schedule from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. until you feel like you're at a place where you can take a little bit of the pressure off you and maybe say no from time to time. 2 years of yes.
Awesome. And anything about asking when you don't know, Corey?
Ask. Oh my God. And just tell your client, I'm not sure. That's a really good question. You know what? I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. That's it. That's all you have to do. And you call somebody from the team, or you call your broker of record, or you call your colleague, and you do some Googling. It's shocking how much is on Google. It's amazing what you can ask that thing. You ask Siri, and it probably could give you a lot of the answers. And you get the right feedback, and you get back to your client right away. No one will even think it's weird that you don't have an answer to everything on the spot. I mean, even last night, we were at a listing presentation, and the sellers asked Ralph and me, and we've been doing this for a long time, and we sold hundreds of properties. They're like, what do you think our property's worth? And we had to be like, I don't know. Like, we have to take this information back now that we've seen the property, do our due diligence, do our homework, our analysis, and get back to you with an answer. We weren't like, oh, and just make up a number. That would have been the stupidest thing we could have possibly done. So yes, that is what you're doing every time you don't know. And it's totally okay.
And that never stops. 17, 20 years in the business, there are things that come across that not even ask what you don't know. Ask if you're unsure. Ask if you want to talk something through. I just got this email. Am I crazy or da, 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 da? I've never experienced this. Am I missing something? Can you reread this email? You know what? This person really pissed me off. Can you just take a look at this email and let me know if it's a little too strong before I send it? And you're like, take the all caps down, but otherwise it's fine, Ralph. So I think that never goes away. And for the most part, saying yes is such an intrinsic part to just opening yourself up to the flow.
Yes.
You're placing a lockbox, you have a random conversation with that person knows somebody, introduces you to that person. All of a sudden, that person is a developer and you're selling $100 million project. Stranger things have happened to me and Corey than that story I just told you and made up. So these things happen, and just the more constricted you are, the more you have a sense of entitlement, the more the universe will constrict you and your business and everything. The more you open up, the more things will come to you. You have to, again, not be too metaphysical, and I hope anybody who's watching this does not think Corey and I are cult leaders, but the more you open yourself up to receive, the more that will come back.
Yes. Notice how I said yes so many times.
Amen.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think we really covered these top 6 fundamental drivers that somebody should be thinking about. And to a certain degree, never stops once they get in the business as their career develops and evolves. And it's really an important time when somebody's looking to get into this business to be thinking about it like a business, to be treating it with respect, and to be making really conscientious decisions along the way. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. Corey and Ruben, so glad to have you both here, and such a grazing resources for your experiences getting into this business. And I hope somebody who's watching this has taken some great information out of this. We're so happy for everybody to have joined us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you like the comment, hit that like button, the content, be sure to hit that like button. And if you have anything constructive to say at all, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Or
any really good advice that you would give to new agents. If you've watched this, plop it into the comment section below and let's just have a dialogue about it. I think it'd be really helpful to people out there. And feel free to reach out to us anytime if you're new and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, even if you're not from Toronto, we're here to help, and you never know where those conversations can go.
Exactly.
So we're always open universe. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone has a wonderful day or evening, depending upon when you're watching.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.